Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. It is the weekend, at least it is for me today, on this 202nd episode of the All Around Growth podcast. That's right, it's Sunday afternoon, October 3rd, and it's the first weekend in October. We are making the transition from Q3 into Q4, and over the past couple of weeks, last weekend and this weekend specifically, I have been doing some time or spending some time reflecting, just reflecting in general. And with regard to the show and the content that I share, there have been a few recent milestones that we will discuss on today's leisurely drive home after running a few errands. So let's get into it, shall we? One of the first milestones that got me thinking was the anniversary of a video that I did, and I've linked to in the show notes, called Let's Grow Together. And that was something that was initially filmed September 18th of last year, 2020. And I've linked to both the YouTube link and the Odyssey link, and would encourage you to check out Odyssey as a video viewing and content consuming platform, as well as content sharing platform like YouTube, but different in so many good ways. But that video was a little bit of me telling the audience why I had a YouTube channel in the first place, dating all the way back to March of 2008, and why I did a little podcast project, a little 10-episode trial podcast project that I called All Around Growth in late 2019. Explain the rationale behind the video blogging that I did, the creation of 150 video blog episodes that were basically videos of what you hear, in large part that consists of the All Around Growth podcast, and also some dialogue about the current podcast. And that's a different milestone altogether. And the current podcast began September 30th, 2020, just over a year ago. And over the last year, there have been over 200 episodes recorded. There have been over 3,000 downloads of the podcast. And sometimes, I know I often wonder, who listens to this show anyways? And if you are wondering that, or if you've ever thought about that, I figured I would give you some insight into who you are, the audience. So approximately 82% of our listener base is here in North America. And that is largely in the United States. There's a little bit in Canada, 1% of the listeners, but we've also got a few downloads happening in South America. 13% of the downloads are coming from Europe. 2% of the downloads are coming from Asia. And believe it or not, there have been a handful of downloads from Africa, and we've actually had some correspondence in the All Around Growth Telegram group from one of those individuals in Africa, which has been kind of cool. So like I said, 80% or just over 80% of the listeners come from the United States, 5% from France. Shout out to France. 4% in the UK, 2% in Germany, 1% in Canada, and then we've got just a smidgen of listeners spread throughout Russia, India, and South Korea. Some of those statistics might be a little misleading because of VPNs and things like that, but I believe that's about as an accurate of a representation statistic-wise as I can get. Furthermore, I believe most of the listeners are down in the, or most of the downloads rather, are from down in the Columbus area. I wonder if that's true. If that's so, thank you. Appreciate you tuning in. We've got 5% of the downloads locally, right here in Medina, Ohio. Shout out to whoever you are. 4% of the downloads are from my French friends. Perhaps it is cliche. In the Ile-de-France, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but hey, shout out to you. Thank you for tuning in. We've got other cities like Hoff Norwood, here in Ohio, Brunswick, Cuyahoga Falls. And then we've got some folks over in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Centennial, Colorado. Hey, appreciate my old friends tuning in and staying current with us today. We've also got listeners out in the Seattle area, Pittsburgh, Lake Stevens, Washington, Houston, Texas, Rochester, New York, San Diego, California, Moreno Valley, California, and a few over in Portland, keeping it weird. So that's who listens to the show. That is who is an active participant in the podcast right alongside you and I. And in all of this reflecting, I realized that I've been pretty consistent with the content creation in some way, shape, or form over the past couple of years. I mean, hell, 1 year, over 200 episodes of a podcast. Previously, I had over 150 video blogs in something like 6 months. But when I did this video last year, September, I invited you to join me in the journey of change. And sometimes the journey it's tiresome at times, guys. And like I alluded to before, I was going to change the way in which I delivered content, because I had released a few episodes lately where I had prepared notes, much like this, and I enjoyed it, because basically what I do is I write a blog post, and then I use the blog post as notes to articulate and speak about a podcast, right? And that was my first love, was writing, blogging. And when I did shows like that, it brought me back to that. And I liked that. I enjoyed that. And I hope that you did too. And it felt weird, honestly, this past week, not recording in the mornings, not having consistent content to share in the Telegram group and to share on Twitter, online. But that's okay, because I feel confident about it. And while the quantity has been there with the content I've been creating, and the quantity's been there, just the quality has been lacking a bit. So lots of change been alluded to, lots of change is being written about and talked about the past 2 weeks, especially in the Best Self Journal. Check out the show notes for a link to that product. If you use the code YMF, you will get 15% off of your first order. But I spent a lot of time reviewing the third quarter and preparing for the fourth quarter of 2021, taking benchmarks on my health, my finances, my work, career, relationships, personal growth, mindfulness, and setting goals for the fourth quarter of 2021. The remainder of 2021. We are 3/4 of the way through, guys, and moving closer to the end of the year every day. So with everything going on, my goals for Q4 are going to be quite simple. The first goal, first and foremost, is going to be my health. To adhere to this diet and supplement protocol 100% for the 6 to 8 week time frame. Officially beginning tomorrow when I submit the last of my samples, or I literally ship them off in FedEx. My second goal that I have is to return to a budget-based planning, or return to budget-based planning, and get back into Quicken and the Dave Ramsey goals on paper, revisiting some of the original PDF files and printouts, going through everything myself and getting mentally prepared for the Financial Peace University course that I will be coordinating to kick off the first quarter of 2022. We begin the third week in. Happy to share with you. Happy to have you be a part of it as well. It's a virtual Financial Peace University class, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to some fresh faces, some lives changed, and just looking forward to this because this is now a part of my life as well, and has been for 5 years now. The third goal I have is quite simple, which is simply scheduling a 2-hour block of time once a week for 1 hour of solid writing. Each week, time for me, alone time, whatever you want to call it, downtime, time that I've worked for, so that I can continue making more progress than I have been, because I'm quite frankly, I'm not satisfied with it. So I'm keeping the goals simple for the remainder of 2021. And I'd like to have my goals for 2022 outlined by Thanksgiving of this year. So for the next 8 weeks during this elimination diet, I've really got my work cut out for me in terms of staying on point with my diet and supplementation. No drinking, no caffeine, just getting in the zone and hopefully identifying some goals and capitalizing on the abstinence to provide some clarity to make the progress that I'm looking for. So keeping my goals simple is going to help me simplify my life, and that's why I was running the errands that I was running, because Giant Eagle, the local grocery store, has some items that I can order and have shopped for me, and I can simply pick them up. I'm trying to simplify my life, take advantage of services that are available. Instacart is another one that I use, but Giant Eagle is not a service that is available or a store that is available through Instacart, but I use it more often than not, saving myself trips like this to the market, because Instacart delivers groceries sometimes in as fast as 1 hour. I don't know how it happens, but basically for what I view as an Amazon Prime subscription, or the cost of it annually, I get connected with personal shoppers in the area that shop and deliver groceries from some of my favorite stores like Aldi, Earth Fare, Mustard Seed, Heinen's. Some of these are local chains. I'm sure you've heard of Aldi. Check it out if you find yourself pressed for time. Streamline and simplify your life. I'm learning how to. I continue to do this podcast so I can share those ideas and concepts with you, continually refining and changing the podcast from daily to weekly so that the quality is there, and hopefully with the increased quality of the content being delivered, we will improve and increase the quantity of our audience as well. And if you want to connect with further audience members who are on a similar path, I would encourage you to consider joining our Telegram chat group. And that is in Telegram, of course, and you can search the groups All Around Growth, or if you're not familiar with Telegram, just go to your internet browser and punch in t.me/allaroundgrowth. That will direct you to the group and to a page where you can easily download Telegram to connect with us and so many other people of like mind as well. In the show notes as well, there will also be links for all of you Apple Podcast listeners to leave a rating and review, little instructions on how to do so, since this has become increasingly complex over the years. And all listeners are encouraged to give the show a rating and review on your podcast player of choice. It helps with the algorithms, and it helps expose new audience members to the show. So if you like what you hear, spread the word on social media, give it a thumbs up, do whatever you can to support the show, and you can find all different ways increasing with each week, each quarter, each year that you can support the show. Anything from subscribing on Patreon to soon enough what will be buying me a cup of coffee, to using links like Instacart. If you're not doing something like that, use my affiliate link. No shame. Trying to make a buck to support the show, monetize my hobbies, and take advantage of ideas that are presented to me from you, because that's where the whole idea of monetizing the podcast came from. It came from the audience. And shout out to Andy for being a supporter and a listener from the very beginning. This idea was something that I've referenced in other shows, but real quick, it is from Side Hustle Nation, I believe, talking about snowballing your hobbies to provide a little side hustle income without actually doing a whole lot to work another 8, 12, 20 hours a week. So this is something that I've been doing for fun anyways. A few more changes can maybe make it pay off. So anyways, that's a little bit of clarification about where we're at now, where we've been the last week or so in the absence of a daily show, and maybe a little bit more of what you can expect moving forward on a weekly basis. The duration of the show will be about the same. Chances are they may even be recorded while driving or maybe while walking. I'm not sure. But either way, check us out in the group chat, t.me/allaroundgrowth. We'd love to connect with you there. And when you join the group, let us know how you heard the show, where you heard of it, and look forward to seeing you in the next episode in the group or in a video in the future. Thanks, guys.